It was said at the last meeting, see something, say something. If you're not familiar with the field cards, this may be a bit confusing, but I will try to explain it as simply as I can. As a member of the BAA, we saw an unusual pattern of things on the back of the field cards, which is why our report was called the Creation of Fountain Youth Formula, which was our words because it made properties get younger as they aged. If no improvements had been made to real property, we saw that the effective year condition magically got newer or younger. These changes artificially increase assessment values. Simply explained, if your effective year was 1980 and we are 5 years older, your property should not be 5 years younger unless you did improvements, upgrades, or enhancements to the property. We saw this on so many cards, we started calling it the Fountain of Youth. But this Fountain of Youth does affect your house or building value and what you are paying taxes on. After all the hearings and votes were taken, I went down to get each council member's field card so I could explain the effective year on the back of your property card. And that's when, to my shock, the effective year was deleted on all of your cards. This bothered me so much, I went back to the town hall to pay and get more field cards of the properties that came in for appeals. And later that day, I went down to get even more cards. All of these cards were now missing this critical information. It seems after the BAA issued our report that discussed the formula of the Fountain of Youth, this information is suppressed or hidden from the public. It is my belief that this can only be done by vision and/or the assessor. Instead of looking into the obvious problem of manipulation of numbers, Enfield just removes it so no citizen or business in town can see it any longer. This alteration of public documents, especially during an appeal season, should cause a grave concern to every taxpayer in Enfield, especially the town council. Let me explain a little further. Anyone can appeal the BAA decisions for up to 2 months after we rendered a decision. So when somebody requests their cards, there is now different information found on the 2020 cards. The provisions of the Connecticut General Statute does allow for a clerical omission or mistake that do not include errors of substance. Not only have the 2020 cards been altered by suppressing information, and remember, we already have this information and proof of it from the appeals, and magically, poof, now it's gone. But under further review in sampling of the cards that I reprinted from 6/7/22, some that came in for appeals, it appears the values have changed from the 2020 cards. This was another very troubling discovery. Remember, the BAA is adjusting the year of 2021, not 2020. So you may ask, why is this a problem? If the value is less than the town of Enfield charged them for their taxes, then perhaps the town has to refund these people or businesses their money back. If the taxpayer paid less money in their taxes than they did in 2020 from 2 years ago, do they now owe more money? If the grand list was changed either way, then are the grand list numbers that were certified still correct? This certainly raises a question. Is it an accident or on purpose? Either way, this could be a huge problem for the town. I don't have the answers, and I don't know the whys. But if you see something, you should say something. And it took me a whole afternoon of my time just to get all this information, to go through the cards and look it over, just to be able to explain it to you tonight. So I don't think anyone should be made feeling bad for informing the council of potential problems. So I brought an example, and I added 2 print dates, the 4/8 hearing card with a RCN on the back of $811,000 for one property, and then the 6/7 print date is now $855,531. The numbers appear to be manipulated with depreciation, and now the effective year is deleted on all the cards. I don't have enough time or amount of new cards to know how many of these values were changed, but I just wanted to bring it to your attention. And I have a copy for every board member and one for the secretary. Thank you. The BAA would like to set the record straight, as it appears that the administration was incorrect in her statement during the last town council meeting that the BAA failed to do something which created a fine for the town of Enfield. She wasn't specific identifying the fine, but OPM does have a sheet listing all the fines. In an appeal year, the BAA for cause shown sends in writing to the Chief Executive Officer, which is the town manager, a request for an extension. The chairman did this request on March 28, 2022. After the grand list has been examined and corrected by the BAA, the assessor sends an abstract list to the Secretary of OPM before the first day of May. M13 and an M13A, of which each is a $100 fine. The fine I think she was referring to. Attached is a copy of the OPM policy schedule of forms for the assessor, and there is not one form on that list for the BAA to complete. And for the OPM site, you actually have to have a login access to any of these forms. The BAA has no access. It was the assessor that apparently did not file or complete these required forms, which caused the town to get the $200 fine. I would hope that the administration was just misinformed about the fines and wasn't casting aspersions on the BAA. I am submitting a copy of this OPM form to support my statement. It seems lately by some of the comments made by the administration that the public, the citizens, board members, and businesses are regarded less than the others, since she won't tolerate anything bad said about her staff. But I ask the council, is this the impression that we want to give our community? Thank you. The assessor had all these sticky notes that were copied into the appeal sheets that were given to us at each hearing. The BAA did not ask for these notes. They were totally unsolicited. I do not have the answer, but were they there to influence us? Remember, the full BAA cannot meet with the assessor unless it's a scheduled meeting and open to the public. However, these notes were on the top page of each appeal sheet for all of us to read. Even though the town manager said at the last meeting that she was not prepared to discuss the assessor issues with the council, she just happened to have a spreadsheet and these same sticky notes messages as her talking points for 10 minutes. But after hearing her read a few of them, I knew exactly what they were and who wrote them. Was it proper to have them on the appeals form without informing the appellant? I don't have that answer yet. Since the BAA conducted the hearings and received testimony, wouldn't it have been helpful to find out what the results of those sticky notes actually were? As one of the three members that heard from the appellants and saw the assessor's sticky notes, our first job is to fact find. The board chose to write the report Decisions of Appeals Assessments heard in April 2022 and decided in May of 2022 to inform you and the public. The question the council should be asking is, how does someone who claims to know so much continue to make so many errors? Is it coincidental or on purpose? Thank you.